Hello everyone on Facebook. My name is Phil Martello and I'm part of the Rochester Regional Health Communications team. Today I'm joined by athletic trainers Ian Hurlburt and Melissa Wassink. They're both part of our athletic training team and they're here to answer questions about getting your kids ready for back to school and how they're going to be ready for preseason and make sure they're really ready to kick off the year this year. So I'll just start off with some basic questions, but first off, we actually want to make sure we're encouraging our audience to ask questions. If you guys have any questions for Ian and Melissa for your kids, feel free to ask in our Facebook comments and we'll make sure they answer them. So how'd you guys both get into athletic training? Let's start with you, Melissa.
Sure. So I've always been involved in athletics my whole life, and I kind of knew I wanted to do something in the medical field, but I wasn't really sure quite what that was until I got into high school and I took an introduction to sports medicine class. So that kind of introduced me to the profession of athletic training, and then from there I went to Brockport and did my bachelor's program, passed my certification, and then I went on to get my master's in athletic training from Indiana State.
So mine's a little less exciting. I started out and just knew I wanted to do something with sports. I even thought maybe I wanted to do sports broadcasting at one point. The more I got into it, the more I thought about it. I really liked the medical side of kind of the athletic training lets you become a part of. Right out of high school, I knew I wanted to do athletic training and went to Cortland, got my bachelor's, got my master's, and here I am at Rochester Regional.
So I'm not completely familiar with the Rochester Regional training team. Can you guys just tell our viewers who may not be as familiar with it just a little bit about what you guys do, where we work out of?
Yeah, so I specifically work out at Victor High School. We have 6 contracted high schools in the area. We work at Hilton High School, East Rochester High School, Marcus Whitman High School, and Waterloo High School. A couple of other companies or organizations that we work with. We work with Central Western Basketball, providing coverage for their AAU tournaments. And we also provide coverage for the Rochester Junior Monarchs in the area. And then Melissa can speak to the 2 that she specifically works with.
And I work for Finger Lakes Community College, and I also provide coverage to the Rochester Richmond baseball team.
Nice. So it's kind of scary, but back to school is, a little more than a month away. But our big thing today is we want to make sure that kids are ready for their fall sports. They're probably 2-3 weeks away from preseason. So Melissa, what are some tips that you have, the importance of coming into the preseason with being in shape?
Yeah, it's really important to come into preseason already in shape and have, a good foundation of your strength and endurance already at that point. That's not only going to let you perform better and look better in tryouts, but you're also going to kind of decrease your risk of injury there too. So preseason really shouldn't be your sole preparation for your regular season. You should be using your off season as time to gain strength and your endurance and build up kind of that foundation, and then that way you can use your preseason to focus more on your technique and sport specific skills and learning new plays and things like that.
Okay. So kind of a question I'm sure a lot of parents grapple with is how much is too much, and when will they know, my kid might be burning out? What do you tell your parents?
Right. Well, I actually recently got this question when I was working an AAU basketball event. A parent came up to me and said, my kid, they're feeling tired, their legs are heavy, I can kind of tell he's just kind of not getting up and down the same way. And I always ask them, well, when's their day off? When do they have the opportunity to rest? And parents usually kind of look back and go, well, they had soccer camp, this week. Now he's at this basketball tournament. We were actually at a soccer tournament yesterday. We just picked up a personal trainer and they're working with him. So they have a hard time of answering when they have a rest day. So, that's usually the first thing I point is your body needs to recover. All of this training, personal training, whether it be skill development at practices or things like that, that's all beneficial. But the only way your body can get better is to be able to regenerate. You're constantly breaking it down, doing those activities. It needs a chance to recover, regenerate, build that muscle, and allow your body to go through that metabolic process of making yourself stronger and faster. So as a rule of thumb, what I told this parents and what I usually tell parents, maybe you're looking at 3 to 4 days a week for 1, maybe an hour and a half of focused work on conditioning, focused work on weight training, and those types of activities, and then possibly another 1 to 2 hours a few days a week on skill development. But you need to be able to find that day of having an active recovery. That doesn't mean they just sit and lay on the couch, obviously, but they can do some sort of yoga, they can do some sort of stretching. I even encourage, just get up and go for a walk, just get up and get off the couch. So I think in the society of everyone pulling and all of the coaches wanting everyone to be a part of everything, it's really common for the kids to be training 7 days a week, maybe 3 or 4 hours every day. So maybe cap it at an hour or two and try and back it off to maybe 5 or 6 days in a week.
Okay. So again, my name is Phil Martello. I'm part of the Rochester Regional Health Marketing Team. I'm joined by Ian Hurlburt and Melissa Wassink. They're trainers for our Rochester Regional Health Physical Therapy and Training Team. We did get a question, and it's something we're going to cover later, but parents have kids who are playing one sport and specializing in one sport, and you were touching on soccer, baseball, basketball. What's the importance of kind of making sure your kids are well-rounded and not just specializing in one sport?
Yeah, I think the big thing with specializing in one sport is if you're constantly playing that one sport year-round, you're really putting a lot of stress on a concentrated area. So, for example, if you're a baseball pitcher, you're putting a lot of stress on your shoulder and your elbow all year round. So if they do just have one primary sport, it's important for them to find a season to take off a long period of rest, so they're not doing the same thing all year round. And a lot of research has shown that playing multiple sports over different seasons really kind of taps into different demands on your body, and you're a better, well-rounded athlete, and also can decrease your risk of injury as well.
So what kind of activity should kids be doing right now if they are playing fall sports? What should they be doing to get back into shape?
Definitely a variety of exercise is important. You want to be doing something for your cardiovascular, whether it's running or riding your bike, even just hiking or swimming, something to kind of build that cardiovascular foundation, but then also something that mimics the demands of your sport. So whether you're playing soccer, you should be doing a little bit of ball work, some speed and agility stuff, definitely some weight training, some form of strength training to get yourself ready for the demands of your sport. So
Ian, if kids don't have access to a gym, what's some stuff that they can be doing at their house, make it easy on them?
Yeah, you don't really need more than, say, 5 to 10 yards of space to really be able to improve, especially when we're talking high school kids and younger. They need to get kind of the basics. You have to set that base before you can start to move up into maybe the Instagram famous things of bouncing on Bosu balls and all of those types of things.
So you have videos like that on your page?
Yeah. So really you need to focus on the basics. They need to make sure they have good form with squatting technique. They need to be able to perform a push-up and do variations of planks, whether that be side planks or front planks. And again, you can get more complicated off of those things. The other things you want to make sure you're focusing on is body weight bridging exercises. So usually they're referred to as glute bridges. And again, there's tons of variations off of those. So making sure that you're really good at those exercises. As far as trying to work on speed, agility, cardio, with that, 5 to 10 yards of space, you can do a 5-10-5 drill or a pro agility drill, which is something that we actually did at Imagine RIT a couple years ago. You don't need a whole ton of space, and that's a good change of direction agility drill. You throw down a few cones, you can do some ladder drills and variations off of that. Those things alone, work on, again, that agility, that quickness. If you combine all of those things, some body weight exercises, push-up, planks, bridges, with those agility exercises, and maybe you do them for time, or maybe you do a certain amount, and just kind of alternate, those things in a circuit themselves can really build up your cardiovascular system. So those are just all examples of things that, again, you just need your backyard, and they're not sport specific. They're just general exercises that anyone can go and do and improve and get ready for the season.
So stats that won't really shock anyone. More and more people are being diagnosed with diabetes and obesity. Just taking a step back, forgetting the preseason and kids in fall sports, what effort can the average American be taking to stay active? Why is it important for people to stay active?
Yeah, well, and I think what you said there, why is it important? That's the biggest thing that keeps people motivated. Finding that why, why you want to get better. So whether that's be to keep up with your kids, whether maybe you had a health scare, or you went to your doctor and they diagnosed you with diabetes or pre-diabetes or something like that. You have to have that strong why to continue to motivate you to improve. Really simple things that just anyone can do. I encourage people just walk for 15 minutes a day. If you can do that, let's say that's tough for you to do 3 days a week, but that's more than what you were doing. Every little thing helps. Going and then you can build on that. Okay, that's gotten easy. Let me add another day in. Let me add another 15 minutes. Those are real simple steps that you can take to just become more active. The other things you do, it's always a lot easier to stay active if you find something that's fun. There's all sorts of things. People don't think gardening's a really good activity, getting up and down all the time, digging in the dirt. That's a way to stay active. If you like yoga, find a group of people, go for group walks, go for, if you like running, go for a group run, tennis, racket sports. There's all sorts of clubs and activities, at varying degrees of cost that you can do and just get out and move. That's the thing I always plead to anyone in the general population asks me. Just get up and move. Just be more active, and you'll see dramatic differences in a couple months even. So,
kids nowadays eating pizza rolls, a lot of frozen foods, a lot of loaded in sodium. What's the importance of staying with a nutritious diet, and how's that going to benefit them?
Yeah, proper nutrition is definitely vital to athletic performance. Staying fueled and hydrated throughout your training and your competition is really important for your brain and your muscles to have the energy and the nutrients that it needs to maintain the strength and the focus. And really, your diet doesn't have to be difficult. You don't have to track your macros. You don't have to follow a specific route if you don't want to. But just getting a good balance of protein and carbs and fats with every meal, not skipping meals, making sure that you're getting those sources from nutrient-dense foods, not the processed foods, trying to eat things like vegetables and fruit and nuts and lean meats and things like that. Your body really depends a lot on those nutrients, not only to grow and repair tissue, but also, just to keep you healthy overall.
You guys are spending a lot of time on the fields, I'm sure, throughout the year and on the courts and the ice rink. What are some common injuries that you guys see for high school kids, and is there a way that they can avoid them?
Yeah, I think especially the high school kids that I see, a lot of knee pain, chronic knee injuries. A lot of people attribute it to growing pains, which has some truth to it. But I think that's what I see a lot of the patellofemoral pain syndrome diagnosis or chronic knee pain. And I think the biggest thing is to take into account some of the things we've already talked here, making sure you come in prepared for your sport. You're not going from 0 to 60. And then making sure you have that solid base of activity level. You have those core exercises. You're checking in. I know in previous talks we've done on footwear and things like that can all be small things that can prevent just those small things from keeping you from succeeding in your sports and in the fall. Is there anything that you see?
Yeah, I think for me, ankle sprains and, knee injuries like ACL tears are always common ones, but definitely within the past year or two, I've seen a big rise in the overuse injuries, kind of ones just due to repetitive stress, kids not taking that recovery day or not even taking 15 minutes to stretch and recover after practice and after games. It really takes a toll on your body, so yeah, just taking into account things that we've talked about in recovery and nutrition and really making sure that you prepare well, you can really prevent those types of injuries.
And I'm sure, parents nowadays and kids, they're under immense pressure. They're under, they put themselves under a lot of pressure. Can you guys speak to the stresses that kids are under and ways that they can kind of, work through them and work past them through sport?
Yeah, I'll go back to the previous example I had when I was talking with a parent. And I always tell the parents, talk with your kid. See how if your kid's not enjoying the activity that they're doing, then, is it really worth pushing them if they're going and they're dreading every time? Have that conversation with your kid. The other thing that, again, I use this specific example is, I said, if you have a, personal trainer or somebody that you're doing weight-specific exercises with, you should be able to have that conversation with them, or your athlete should be able to have that conversation of saying, well, this is what I did this week, and they should have a base level of knowing, well, then we should probably steer clear of this, or maybe we should do more of this, or you know, whatever the specific case may be. You know, I think just opening up those communication lines, people don't realize that if you have that conversation with either that healthcare professional or just with your children, that you know, they can tell you a lot, and that can help when you're kind of making these decisions and feeling all these stresses and pulls from the coaches, because all the coaches want you for their sport, and you know, every sport now is pretty much 365 days a year. So having that conversation with those professionals, your kids and the coaches, and really most coaches are understanding. They understand kind of how the kids are getting pulled in multiple directions, and they can see it usually in the kids. So they've already hopefully backed it off a little bit and just opening up that communication.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of that stress too comes from either failure or that fear of failure. So I know it can be a little frustrating too if you're on a team sport where, you know, maybe you're not winning every game. It can be frustrating to lose, but it's like that saying, you know, you either win or you learn. So setting small goals for yourself and just trying to learn from your losses or learn from frustrating situations can kind of help you keep a more positive outlook and stay motivated throughout the season.
Well, we've covered a lot today. Do you guys think there's anything we missed or anything you guys want to touch on additionally?
I think we covered pretty much everything to get the athletes ready for the fall season.
Well, I thank you both for coming in. Again, we have Ian Hurlburt and Melissa Wassink. They're part of our sports medicine team. Thanks again for joining us today. If you guys have any questions for Ian and Melissa, feel free to submit them in the comments below. We look forward to seeing you next time here on Rochester Regional Health's Facebook Live segments. Good job today, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.